Good morning, everybody. We'll call to order our November 26, 2019 regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. Dave Wyndham, if you please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Item number 3, roll call. The clerk will please take roll.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here.
And item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Item 4.1, correspondence. If the clerk will please report.
Fire Districts number 1 and 6 sent in their levies for budget year 2020. Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife provided information on a proposed land acquisition project in Mason County. Port of Hoodsport sent in their their approved final 2020 budget, and Norma Jean Jacobs sent in an application for the Planning Advisory Committee.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5. This is our open forum for citizen input. It's an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on items not on today's agenda. If you'd like to address the commission, raise your hand. The chair will recognize you. Come forward to the podium, state your name, and make your comment. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, adoption of today's agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda as written for November 26, 2019.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as written for November 26, 2019. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, there are no minutes to approve. We'll move on to item number 8, approval of today's action agenda. Commissioners will read through the items on today's action agenda, at which point a commissioner or member of the public may ask to have an item removed for a separate discussion and vote. Commissioner Netherland, if you'd please take 8.1 and through 3. Commissioner Trask, 8.4 and 5, and I will take 8.6 and 7.
Happy to, Mr. Chair. Item number 8.1 reads approval of the 5-year homeless housing plan for consolidated homeless grant and local document recording fees. Item number 8.2, approval of the Mason County capital and trackable asset policies and procedures. Item number 8.3 reads approval to have the chair sign the joint representation and common interest agreement with American Forest Resource Council and Northwest Resources Law, PLLC.
Item 8.4, approval of warrants and treasury electronic remittances. Claims clearing fund warrants number 8068268 through 8068412 in the amount of $649,597.51. Treasurer electronic remittance for October 2019 in the amount of $634,489.51. Item 8.5, approval to appoint Robert Mac McLean to fill a vacant Planning Advisory Commission seat. This term is good through December 31st, 2024.
Item 8.6, approval of amendment number 11 to consolidated contract CLH 18253 between the Washington State Department of Health and Mason County Public Health. And item 8.7, approval to set a public hearing on December 17th, 2019 at 9:15 a.m. to consider an amendment to Title 17, Chapter 17.23, Festival Retail District within the urban Belfair Urban Growth Area. Excuse me. Commissioners, having read through all the items on today's action agenda, are there any items you'd like to have removed for a separate discussion and vote? Okay, hearing none. Any members of the public have items that they would like to have removed for a separate discussion and vote? Okay, hearing none. Before we move into a potential motion, I do have a question for staff on item 8.7. Kel? So we did receive an email questioning whether or not the minutes were available from the PAC meeting on October 21st. I just wanted to, my question is, will the minutes be available online for public review before the public hearing that we're setting?
Yeah, and I believe they're available now. According to staff, they thought that it was available as of October 22nd, so I was just looking online, but I think they're published now.
Okay, okay, so they're available for public
Yes.
review so that people would have a chance to review those to comment on the 17th. Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions or a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the action agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the action agenda as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, other business. Any department heads or elected officials who would like to address the commission? Dave?
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave
Morning.
Wickham, Mason County Community Services. This is a public announcement. So starting next week, our SmartGov system moves to its next phase. So we'll be doing some online permitting. So here are the following permits that will be available to do online, so you'll be able to do these from home. Well construction permits, burn permits, dressing, mechanical, re-roofs, and demolition permits. You'll all be able to do from home now. Pay your permit fees and receive your permit in your email. So it's the next step in what we're doing with the building department. So this will take a good portion of what currently is at the counter in terms of over-the-counter permits and move them out of the office and into people's homes. You can do them anytime.
Great. Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you.
Good job.
Looking forward to that getting fired up. Okay, any other department heads? Okay. Moving on to item number 10, we have not yet reached 9:15, so we will move past item number 10 and move to item 11, our board reports and calendar. Commissioner Llewellyn, if you get us started, Commissioner Trask, and then I'll finish up.
Sure. Mason Transit Authority meeting. I met with constituents. This thing at Burger Claim is just blowing up. The list keeps getting larger and larger. People that want to meet out there. It's been pretty interesting. North Mason Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors meeting. More constituents on a whole nother day. I met, the ARC had their annual celebration, and we served 200 plus of the members with developmentally disabled. Bill Geyer had one heck of a service. There was probably about 400 people that showed up. Saying goodbye to a legend in our community. He will definitely greatly be missed. You know, I've coached over 1,000 kids, and one of the things the reason why I say that is before I coached one, I actually had a class that I took from Bill Geyer to teach me how to coach. So it's funny how it all comes back around. And he wasn't much older than me, but it was a wonderful outpouring of love for him. And then we had our briefings. Tonight I have a very special event to my heart. We are pinning, Derek Kilmer is coming into Belfair, and we are pinning veterans from the Vietnam era. It is not whether you served in Vietnam during that whole process, that whole time period. If you served, you're going to be recognized tonight. Because you got to remember, if you have anybody on the line, you have a lot of people that goes back before you could even get to them. And every one of them that served at that time had the chance of being up there, or could have at any given moment been put up there in the front. So never forget, every single part of that was important. Every person that served at that time. And this is also available for the widows of those who maybe brought Vietnam home with them and didn't quite make it through. They're welcome to come up and receive a pin for their spouse. And also, if somebody is in care and cannot be there, a family member can come and receive the pin on their behalf as well. Briefings, a port meeting, a meeting of the left board. Is that elected and director joint meeting? Was that been canceled?
I think it was.
I thought it was too, but it's still on my phone, so if that happens, we'll all be there. Other than that, brings us back briefings, we start over again.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner.
Last week I attended the Association of Counties Leaders Conference in Spokane. It was very educational. It was filled with great information and an opportunity for me to expand my knowledge. So it was great. On the way home, had a conference call for Pack Mountain Workforce and went over the budget there. And then yesterday was the meetings. Today is the Board of Health meeting after this. And then I'm going to be meeting with some constituents this afternoon. And the rest of the meetings for the week have been canceled, so we'll be back here on Monday for briefings.
Very good. Thank you. Last week I had an opportunity to attend as our alternate, the risk pool board meeting, which was held in conjunction this year with the State Association of Counties meetings. Just always a really good opportunity to get together with folks from other counties to, in some cases, commiserate, but in other cases learn what they're doing that's successful and have an opportunity to bring some of those ideas and policies back to Mason County, which is, I think, really the intent of these things is to increase collaboration. I think that by nature, commissioners, we don't always do a great job talking with other commissioners because of our makeup. We're used to not talking to commissioners. And so it's nice to get in a room and share some of those ideas and talk about the work that's being done across the state, and look forward to digging into some of that stuff a little bit more with staff as those ideas kind of churn their way through my brain. So very good set of meetings last week. Going forward, we do have Board of Health. I have a constituent meeting after that, and then canvassing board this afternoon. Later this week, I have a meeting with Sean Tucker out at Alderbrook to talk about some of their projects. Have a meeting with the Great Bend Center for Music, and then we'll be back as well next week for our budget hearing. Just a word of thanks for Commissioner Netherland for bringing helping facilitate Congressman Kilmer coming into Belfair to do the pinning. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for folks that have given so much to our country to be recognized, and particularly this time of year where we're focused on giving thanks and gratitude for all the benefits and the bounty of our nation, and certainly that was earned by our veterans, and so I appreciate your stepping up and being a part of that tonight, and I know you'll represent the county well and express our gratitude for their service as well through that. Absolutely. So very much appreciate that. If there's no other board reports or calendar, we have hit the 9:15 mark and can move into item 10. Item 10.1, a public hearing to certify to the county assessor the amount of taxes levied for county purposes and the amount of taxes levied for current expense and road property tax levies for 2020. And ask staff to come forward and brief.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Jennifer Byerly with Mason County Support Services. And this public hearing is to certify to the county assessor the amount of taxes levied for county purposes and the amount of taxes levied for current expense and road for 2020. An increase to the current expense and road property tax levies for 2020 may be considered. Some background. Pursuant to RCW 84.52.070, the Commissioners must certify to the county assessor the amount of taxes levied for county purposes and for each taxing district by adoption of a resolution by November 30th. There are 3 recommended actions. The first one is move to increase the 2020 current expense property tax levy by 1%, bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $10,383,385.25. The second recommended action is move to increase the 2020 road property tax levy by 1%, bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $11,116,428.15. This includes a diversion of the road levy of $2,160,000. The third recommended action is move to continue the hearing to the December 10th, 2019 Commission meeting at 9:15 a.m. to adopt the resolution certifying to the county assessor the property tax levies for collection in 2020. And this is because the junior districts have until November 30th to turn in their levy requests, and then the assessor has to calculate those levies, so gives them time to do that. Any questions?
Any questions for staff? Okay.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, we're looking for 3 separate motions
Yes,
today. Okay.
exactly.
And so I guess maybe a question for the commission on process. Will we take each one individually? Is that how I believe we've done that in the past?
I would think so, but I think the public aspect of it should probably come up.
So one public comment period for all 3?
I would think, and then the motions.
Okay.
Because it's one hearing, I think, right?
Yes,
The way you have it set up.
One hearing,
yes.
3 motions.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right, very good, thank you. Okay, any questions for staff from the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into public comment on the recommended action and the resolution before us. If you'd like to make comment, raise your hand. Chair, recognize you. Come forward to the podium and make your comments.
I think for the audience out there, we only have one, so that's why we're all looking at him.
Thank you. My name is Tom Davis. I guess I have a question here, and I apologize if it's not relevant or appropriate to what's being voted on today as far as the Veterans Assistance Fund. I had asked Frank Pinter yesterday, is there going to be an increase in the Veterans Assistance Fund? Because that was reflected in a couple of resources that I looked at, and he said yes, it was. There was some discussion about whether or not that was going to be an increase in the assistance fund, was going to be a transfer from the current expense as a single item, or there was going to be an increase in the levy. I didn't hear that discussed today, so I guess before I have to make a comment, I'd like to ask, is that part of this discussion?
I'd like to find that out too. That's a good question from staff. Do you mind if we, please?
Would you like me to come to the podium?
Sure.
You can still talk again, Tom, but that's a question, a good question I'd like an answer to.
So the Veterans Assistance levy was increased to a total dollar amount of $136,160. That's what's in the budget, and that is included in the current expense, the $10,383,385.25. So does that answer your question?
So we don't have to do it like we're doing these other levies. We don't have to adjust it as an action.
No, because it will be included in that in the third. The moving to continue the hearing to December 10th. The $136,160 for veterans will be included in the assessor's total levy calculations. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on that at this time, because I'm probably not going to be here at the in December 10th. And I wanted to say, often I come here and point out things that I don't believe are going well and so on. And I also like to make a policy of pointing out things that do go well. And I especially a shout out to Commissioner Netherland for spearheading this particular effort to increase the levy for the Veterans Assistance Fund. I believe it's the first, actually I know it's the first increase in the levy that has occurred since there has been mandated Veterans Assistance funds that must be applied to all counties. I'd also like to thank both the other commissioners for their participation. This is something, if we can't rally around this, what can we rally around? And I appreciate that. So when things do go well, at least in my perception of well, I think it should be acknowledged. So I greatly appreciate this. That money is going to be some of the best spent money that you can imagine, because it's going to go directly to the need, without any administration costs, at least on the side that does the distribution. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Can I say something? I also want to thank the other commissioners and make it clear that you know, I'm serving on a commission right now that is extremely pro-veteran, and I very much appreciate it. And from the very beginning, you guys have helped to push a lot of these things through, and you don't even question whether or not as had been in the past, whether it would be spent incorrectly or whatever, because you have faith in our veterans and have really seen that they're very effective with what they do. But I wanted to make it very clear that I'm serving on a very, very pro-veteran board, and I'm very thankful for that. And I believe all three of us understand we'd have nothing to give if they hadn't given it first. But so thank you for your kind words, Tom. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move to close public comment and begin Commissioner deliberation or motion, or three.
Mr. Chair, I move regarding the current expense levy to increase the levy by 1% and bank excess capacity for the 2020 current expense property tax levy, and also accept our excess capacity, the levy rate at $10,383,385.25.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to increase the 2020 current expense property tax levy by 1%, bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $10,383,385.25. Any additional discussion? Just a kind of a comment on Tom's comment as well. I think this was a very good budget year for veterans in Mason County. Not only were we able to address the levy change that Commissioner Netherland was bringing forward, but we've also were able to find money to put into the Veterans Tiny Home Project in the city as well. So Between the two increases, we're going to see nearly $250,000 in new money going into veterans and veteran services in the county, and I think that's a win that we can all be proud of, and really, you know, I think it'll help move the needle in our community. So, always more work to do, but I think it's worth noting that we were able to make those investments this year. So, appreciate everybody's work on that. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, and the motion carries. Is there a motion on the second part?
I'll do that one. I make the motion to move to increase the 2020 road property tax levy by 1%, bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $11,116,428.15. This includes a diversion of the road levy of $2,160,000.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to increase the 2020 road property tax levy by 1%, bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $11,116,428.15. This includes a diversion of the road levy of $2,160,000. Any discussion? I'll just say, I'll make a comment on this. Just try to be brief. So one of the things that taking the 1% is often kind of a debated thing in different counties, but one of the issues that we were able to help address this year by taking the 1% in the road levy was to begin addressing some staffing needs on the operator side in the road department, which will help us address other issues such as our gravel road program in the county. The TIP cap had worked on bringing forward a proposal to a pilot program of sorts to improve some of the gravel roads in the county that are county roads that people use every day and often get pretty beat up. And so we kind of triage those throughout the year. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenging with the weather, but this is a step towards being able to improve those for the people that rely on them. So we have a lot of road needs that are coming up in the next couple of years, in particular as we start to look at connector roads to the freight corridor and that kind of thing. And so this was a necessary move to try to get in front of some of those other issues as well. So any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, and the motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I move to continue the hearing till December 10th, 2020, it says 19, commission meeting at 9:15, no, it would be 2019, 9:15 a.m. to adopt the resolution certifying to the county assessor the property tax levies for collection in 2020.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue the hearing to December 10th, 2019, commission meeting at 9:15 a.m. to adopt the resolution certifying to the county assessor the property tax levies for collection in 2020. Any additional discussion?
So I saved my comments for the last, just because. So wanted to thank Tom for all the work he does for the veterans. I'm friends with quite a few people that go out and work so hard. Come from a long line of veterans. So they hold a very special spot in my heart. And my daughter and my son also served. And thanks to our director right behind you. He's a veteran also, and we've got a lot in our community, and they're all very special people. So, thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the motion carries. All right, that closes up item 10.1. Move on to, if there's no other business before the commission, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just a piece of advice, if they leave a decaffeinated green tea up in the cupboard for 3 years, don't drink it. That and don't take wood nickels is good advice.
Motion.
I have motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
There's a second.
We're adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And yes, Tom, thank you very much for your service and everything. Tonight, to be honest with you, when all this is going on tonight, I'm kind of hoping you're going to be there. Just, if